In our previous videos, we have compromised the Windows Server and dumped the credentials. But we also compromised the web application running on the Linux server, which uh, which was quite helpful because it dumped a lot of credentials to us, as well as that was the Swift application in our context. If you remember the SQL injection and the users revealed here, they are quite useful. Also, we had additional users such as Vagrant and SSH server user. So they can be also used against an SSH service. But previously we have tried this and we failed. Let's roll it back again. We have sessions, and the sessions, the first one, is used for routing the traffic to that target network. And the target network has a Linux server which we used for SSH login. So we have it here, but this time I'm not using the username, I'm not using a certain thing, I'm using something else. I'm using the dictionary I generated based on the web application here, which are simply the users and the credentials. And this can be used here, and that could be helpful to us to brute force this system. Maybe we are lucky and we can get a sort of connection. When we run this against the target system, which is the rhost parameter here, it doesn't work well. So we can try this, but it won't work anyway. So we have something not working here, not the credentials. So SSH is specific to a certain type of user group. We can also try something else here. FTP version scan is also useful, as we previously discussed, just like HTTP version and SMB version. What I need here is what HTTP, FTP, and SMB server running on the remote system. In this context, what FTP service is running. So I'm just using the rhost with the IP address, and I will run this FTP version scan to understand what we have. We have FTP, ProFTPD running as a service with default installation, it says, which is not great. So we can just exploit this then. The problem here is, of course, using which exploit? Let's search for ProFTPD. And we can see some exploits here, and some are quite old. Our version matched with one of those specifically. So let's go for it. This is ProFTPD exploit. And it says that this exploit modus, this exploit would use site CPFR and CPTO commands in ProFTPD. And there must be a kind of issue there, right? So it says that by using this one, to copy the PHP payload to the website directory, PHP remote code execution is made possible. So it is using proc self same line. So simply it is leveraging some configuration, some development, some programming vulnerability here instead of some configuration. So we can exploit this, but we need to have our hosts set here, and we need the remote port, and everything must be there. The problem here is actually what's next? I mean, we have some stuff there, but can we use some additional things? For example, it doesn't show us what shell types available. How we can set this? That's the first question, because we are not able to get a reverse shell. So it needs to use a bind shell. Let's try this. What the site path is the site path, and we need to set this up, which is not var www, it is /var /www and HTML. That is the path normally. So we set the IP address already. We fixed the site path, and we need to set a sort of payload. And we need to avoid any reverse payload here. And bind Perl will work for us, or bind Python. Let's try both one by one. And the target port is 444, and the remote host is set. So what we expect here is the exploit will work. It will upload the content to run our payload. The payload will listen to a certain port, which is 444, and our payload handler will connect to that remote system using our route. So in theory, it should work. In practice, we'll see. We are waiting for this, and it failed again. Let's try it again. It worked. Okay. We have something interesting here. Maybe the network error or the timeouts or some sort of broken communication, because we are actually stretching everything out. This traffic is simply passing through different tunnels. So now we have a connection here. We have a shell, and it is assigned as shell number 10. But shell is not good, not great actually, more specifically. And we need to make this actually user-friendly. So we can use Python to make this user-friendly. Python has PTY support, so we can spawn a PTY using the bin bash. So we have this, and we have a user, and we have some sort of communication. We need something else to elevate our privileges, right? So let's call this a first win and save this session right here. So whenever we need this session here, we can start doing that. For example, passvd, and we can just always go back and we can get the session. Okay, let's take a pause and let's find out what privilege escalation will work for us.